All right, we're recording. All right, so we're going to start standing today. And like I said, if you have available near you a sturdy chair, like something that's not going to roll away, or I suppose you could do it with a cushy chair, like if you have a couch or something, that's fine too. But if you don't have that, no worries. You could use a block if you have a block, or a stool, or nothing at all. There's always these options. So today's class is going to be the short one. So you have like more or less a 30-minute. We're going to see how long it takes. 30-minute class to have in your repertoire. So when you want to do some bone healthy asana practice, we're going to play around with the 12 poses that Dr. Fishman had studied in his, he did a pilot study, which actually had more than 12 poses in his pilot study, and actually some very elaborate back bends and things like that using chairs in the pilot study. And then when he simplified it to send it off to the masses and make the DVD and everything, he narrowed it down to 12 poses. So there's nothing super magical about these 12 poses. We do a lot of them in our normal Yoga for Vital Bones class. We do variations on that, and then we do other poses. And he has since he studied the 12 poses, he has since created a second series and a third and a fourth series, because there's a lot of poses that get to the same spots in your body, and it just keeps the mind intrigued by doing different poses, right? And it allows the body to explore different ranges of motion. So the first one we're going to play with is tree pose. It's really basic balance pose, which we would normally do with a support system next to you if balance is an issue. And I just want to explain, one of the things we're going to play with today is the external rotation of the hip. So when we go into tree pose, one of the things is we're balancing on one foot, we're bending and externally rotating a hip, and then we're either having the foot at the ankle, or maybe playing with the pose and the balance here by lifting the toes off the ground. So you try to keep the plumb line from your nose down to the inner ankle, right? Or you bring the foot up into the calf so that you're really on one foot. Or you maybe come all the way up into the inner thigh. And this is where you're really pressing into the upper femur. You're kind of getting more of the benefit of that pressure into the bone. But this is challenging, right? Yeah, especially if you have slippery pants. So that's what the chair is there for today. If you want to play with getting a little bit deeper in this hip socket, you could bring the knee forward and out and place the foot on the chair. And then you're in a very deep hip crease here. And then this is the challenging part. And you could play with lifting the toes off, or even lifting the whole foot off, which is more of a kind of using the muscles in the upper leg. So you can play with that and get into this sort of external. You can notice too, like maybe your knee doesn't externally rotate that far, maybe, or your hip rather. Your knee is more at a closer to being more in the front than out to the side. So you can play with having the foot on the chair to see how far does that hip externally rotate as the standing leg is rooted. So go ahead and take one side for yourself, whether it's on the chair or it's on your body, with the foot in the inner thigh or the calf or down at the ankle. And the whole point that Dr. Fishman found was that breathing and holding the pose for about 30 seconds. The hands being at the waist is one option, and you're keeping the center of gravity kind of low. You could remove the hands and bring them up a little higher, which changes the center of gravity, challenges the balance a bit. You can, if your foot is on the chair, you can play with having it just hovering above the chair. Another couple options. Breathing long and deep. Take one more inhale here. And exhale, bring your hands back to your waist first, and then gently internally rotate the leg, bring it back to center, and let the foot come back down to the floor. Nice. And remember, the transitions into and out of the poses are as important as holding the poses themselves. And we're going to switch to the other side. So you could either Choose the same variation or just see what's happening in this leg. So this is a different set of joints. There may be something different going on in this side of your body. Maybe the standing leg is more or less strong. Maybe the hip that it has to externally rotate on this side is more or less mobile. You can choose that. I find when the foot is on this chair and you lift it off, there's a lot of strengthening that goes on in the upper hip. So that could be possible or not possible. You're grounding down and rising up. You're choosing whatever version works for you on this side, and then choosing what goes on with your hands. You could keep them on your waist. Remember, that's always an option. Just focusing on one aspect of the shape. Finding your breath. Exploring what's going on this side of your body. And this is going to lead into the next shape as well. A couple more breaths. One more inhale here. And exhale, hands to the waist. Inhale, the knee comes forward, and exhale, the foot comes down. Now, for some of us, the fact that we put our foot on the chair is at much higher flex into the hip than we would normally do if our tree is normally down at the calf level or the ankle level. So we just got deep into that hip. And from that same kind of feeling, we're going to go into a warrior two stance. So you're going to separate your feet out pretty wide. So remember, the marker is sort of out underneath your wrists, if you can go that far with your feet wide. And then we can turn the right toes toward the right, left toes in, and we'll bend into that right knee until the knee comes over the ankle. So now you can maybe see that this hip might feel very similar to the one that was if you had your foot on the chair, or you had the foot up a little higher. So you're bending into that knee. Now you can notice if the knee is over the ankle or past the ankle. We want to try to keep it above the ankle. And you're pushed back down into the back feet, the back foot, the left foot. And then bring the spine up and broaden the collarbones and reach the fingers out. And then to sort of amuse our mind, we'll spend a little time moving and breathing here. So we're going to gaze over the right fingertips, flip the palms, and then inhale, follow the right fingertips up to touch the left and pause. Exhale, flip the palms out and gaze back towards the left fingertips. Inhale, flipping the palms, gazing up, looking up. Exhale toward the front. One more time, move the breath and the gaze and the arms, touch. Exhaling toward the back. And then inhaling, coming up and touch. And exhaling toward the front. Now bring your hands to your waist for a moment and then straighten the right leg and just pivot the feet around to the other side. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. So if you're not facing the camera, that's fine. You can bend into that left knee and notice if this feels comfortable for you, or maybe the feet could go a little bit further apart, keeping the knee over the ankle, making sure that the knee hasn't gone past the ankle. You want to sink into the hip crease where the femurs are, the heads of the femur, and then broaden the collarbones out to the fingertips. Gazing over your left fingertips, you're pressing down to the back heel, lifting up through the inner ankle. And then you flip both palms. And then with the breath, inhale, bring the hands up and touch overhead. Exhale, flip the palms and gaze back towards the right. Inhale, bringing the hands up and pause. Exhaling toward the left. Inhaling, coming up and pausing. Exhaling toward the right. Then inhaling, coming up and pausing. And exhaling toward the left. Nice. Now hands come to the waist, straighten that left leg. Pivot the feet around to the other side. And we'll bend into the right knee again. So the warrior two stance is still there. You're bending into the knee. Maybe you could separate the feet a little bit further and get a little deeper into the hips, right? Strong, active legs, flat feet. So maybe the back foot is rolling onto the big toe. We want to keep the pinky toe rooted. And then the front foot sometimes rolls over to the pinky toe. We want to keep the big toe rooted, right? Now bring the hands up over like you had for warrior two. Take an inhale here, and we're going to come into side angle pose, and we shift the weight over the right hip. The left hand could wait on the hip here. And then you cross the forearm across the thigh, or the right hand could come down to the floor or a block. You could stay right here and push through that left heel, lengthen up all the way through the crown of the head, or take the left hand right from the left ankle up to the same angle as your arm. So push through the left foot, reaching up to the left fingertips. Or if that's too much on the shoulders, feel free to keep the hand on the waist. We're sinking into the hips. Find balance through the feet and the toes. The breath is there. Keep space between both sides of the neck. Choose one gazing point. Nice. Now you're pushing through the feet. Inhale, coming up, and then straightening the right leg. Pivot the feet around to the other side, and we'll come into the second side. So starting in your warrior two stance, left toes toward the left, right toes slightly in. Feel both feet grounded. Lift up through the front of the spine. Take a big long inhale. And exhale, you shift out over the left side. Right hand can wait on the waist while you cross the forearm or take the hand to the floor or a block. And then swinging maybe right arm up and over at an angle. Now these poses are bringing different angles of gravity into them. So you're bearing weight in a different angle. It's called Wolff's Law. Julius Wolff discovered that our bones are responsive to stresses. So leaning over and bearing our weight, shifting into the hips and pushing back. So we are using tensile strength to lift that arm up if the arm is overhead, pushing through the back heel, rolling the spine up, being aware of your shape that you're in and finding the breath most of all. Next inhale, bringing the torso back up, straightening the left leg, turn the toes toward the side, hands come to the waist and pausing here. Nice. Now let's close the feet up a little bit so they're more underneath the elbows when you look out with your arms. Feet are parallel. We're going to turn the right toes toward the right, left toe slightly in again. So your chest is still to the side. So these are all kind of related poses. He would do them in a different order. And I choose to do them in this order. So we're going to find triangle pose from here. And the feet are pressing down and away so strongly that you are maybe you would go into a slippery surface. If you're going to a split, if you're on a slippery surface. Rise up from the spine, broaden the collarbones out through the fingers. Take a big inhale here and exhale, hinge out over that right leg again. Both legs are straight. The left hand could wait on the waist. Keep reaching like someone's pulling you and the hips are going the opposite direction. And then drop the right hand down wherever it reaches. Maybe it's the thigh, the knee, the shin, the ankle. Once the hand drops down, maybe you can go a little bit further. Both sides of the waist stay long, so you're hinging right into that right hip, rolling the left hip a little bit further forward. If you find balance is an issue, your feet might be too much on a balance beam. Maybe they need to separate left to right a bit. You have one on one side and the other. Yeah. Maybe the left hand reaches to the sky. Breathing here. Now pushing through the feet. Inhale, coming up, bringing the arms out wide, reaching through the fingertips, and just pivot the feet around to the other side. We're going to take triangle on the other side. Getting down through the toes. You spread the toes wide, push the feet down and away from each other so you're active through the upper legs. Inhaling here, exhale, you lean out over your left leg, right hand weights on the waist until you connect with the left hand down somewhere on the left leg. Hinging into that hip, keeping both sides of the spine and the neck long and even. And the right hand could weight right there on the waist, or maybe it reaches to the ceiling if the shoulders feel like they're stacked. So if the twist is not quite there, this is a bit of a twist. You feel it in the hip more. And maybe we keep the right hand on the waist. Now pushing through the feet, inhale, coming up, bring the hands out wide. Pivot the feet around to the other side. Bring the hands to the waist as we set up for a twisted triangle. And we're going to do a little bit different twisted triangle this time. So you're going to turn the right toes toward the right, left toes in. So you square the hips toward the end of the mat. So many of you are facing the front of the mat. So you would be separated left to right with the feet, not on the balance beam, separating them. And you're facing one end of the mat. And then we're going to not fold forward and do the twist as we would normally do. We're going to give you an option here. So we're going to press back through that left heel and then reach up through the left fingertips. See if you can connect from the left pinky toe to the left pinky finger. As you push back through the heel, you're squeezing the inner thighs toward the center. And again, if you were on a slippery surface, you're pushing so hard through the feet and separating them away, you'd go into a split here. Take a big long inhale here, and then exhale, you're going to turn towards the right, and the left arm comes down to shoulder height. And you just turn towards the right. Taking a twist in the spine, but it's a nice and vertical twist. You're turning into the, let's see, which way you're turning. Right here, you're turning into the right for now. And then turning back towards the front. And switching the hands to the waist. Getting a little confused. Okay. Yeah. All right, so we were turning into the right when the right foot was forward, right? I think some people had it a little backwards, so we'll do it on the other side. So we're going to switch legs. So left foot comes forward, right foot comes back. You can still face the same, or you can switch around to the other side. Perfect, Raquel. Yeah. Now you're pushing back through the right heel, reach up through the right hand. So you're squaring the hips towards the front of the mat, pushing the feet away. Take a nice long inhale here. Then exhale, turning towards the left. The right hand comes down to shoulder height. Feeling the twist through the belly so the spine stays nice and vertical. Turning belly, then heart, then chin, and that left elbow is reaching back towards the right heel. There you go. The hand comes forward, Sue. There you go. Breathing. So this is a vertical twisted triangle. You're getting into the hips. You feel like a squeezing of the inner thighs, and then a little bit in the spine with a nice vertical twist. And then inhale, bring the hand up as you untwist, face towards the front of the mat. Bring the hands to the waist, step forward, and pause here for a moment. Nice. And then to get us into down to the floor, I can't just have you just go to the floor. We need to do something fun to do that. So we're going to do our plies. Our toes come out and our heels slightly in. Inhale, swing the arms out and up. Exhale, bend the knees over the toes. Push through the feet, inhaling, coming up. Exhaling down. Inhaling up. Exhale down. One more time. Inhale up. And exhale, we'll hang out in a squat. The knees are over the toes. Hands might be on the thighs. Forearms might be on the thighs. Maybe the elbows come to the knees. Adjust the feet accordingly so your knees are happy. Breathing here. Nice. One more inhale here. And exhale, gently make your way to the floor and extend your feet out in front of you. Nice. Okay, so continuing on with the twist in the spine needs to stay vertical, so we're not rounding, collapsing any of the vertebrae. We're going to go into Marichasana C. Your right leg's going to stay straight, and your left knee is going to bend up. I'll mirror you. So your right leg is straight, left knee bends up, and you separate the foot from the thigh. So it's more along, the pinky is along the side of the hip, and you're hugging it up close. So if you're feeling like you're rounding a bit, remember you can place either rolled up mat or a blanket underneath your tailbone to keep your pelvis up a little more vertical. This might be your pose right here. It might be deep enough for you. You could add a twist here where you would take your right elbow around the front of the shin and your left hand comes behind you, keeping the spine nice and vertical. And then you turn belly, then heart, then chin, and gaze over your left shoulder. Push down through that left foot, reach through the right heel. See if the collarbones can stay nice and broad, and you can take deeper, deeper inhales and deeper, deeper exhales. And then inhale, looking forward first. Exhale, untwisting second, and straightening the leg third. And then switching legs. So your right foot comes up, reach through the left heel, hugging it up nice and close so the rib cage is up to the inseam of the leg. Keep the spine nice and long, and then you hug around the front of the shin, take your right hand behind you, turning belly, then heart, then chin, gazing over your right shoulder. You're pushing through the left heel and drawing the left toes toward you. And then pressing down into the right foot. So the inner thighs are still actively pushing to the center. The whole body's engaged, the breath is deep, and the gaze is steady. And then inhale, looking forward first. Exhale, untwisting second. And straightening the leg third. Okay. So the Matsyasana that he would add into this Ardha Matsyendrasana is similar pose where we would bend the knee and place it across, but we're going to skip that today just for the sake of a shorter period process. We've already done a twisted triangle, we've done Marichasana, but you would just place your foot on the other side and take the twist here for Ardha Matsyendrasana in his 12 poses. But what we're going to do right now is going to come down onto the floor and actually turn onto our bellies for a locust pose. It's important to, after twists, we want to strengthen the spine as well. Okay, so lying onto your belly, bring your hands underneath bring your hands back down alongside your body. Your chin is neutral and you're pressing the tops of the toes on the floor, maybe bringing the toes even to touch one another. Then you lift the soles of the feet off the floor, spread the toes, lift the nape of the neck off the floor. You could keep the hands on the floor or lift the palms off the floor and reach long through the toes, the crown of the head, using the back body to be nice and long and strong, using the back of the legs, the bottoms of the feet, the palms, the nape of the neck. The ears are reaching to the ceiling, breathing. Take one more breath here. And then exhale, slowly lower yourself down. We'll take the palms underneath the shoulders. And we're going to just gently roll over to the side and onto our backs. So in a longer class, we would do multiples of those to really stimulate the spine. A shorter practice, one that you hold for about 30 seconds, is really helpful. And so lying onto your back, your knees will be bent, your feet are going to be flexed and on flat on the floor, bringing the heels up close to your body. Your arms will be alongside your body, and adjust your shoulders and your hips so their spine is nice and long, the shoulder blades are flat on the floor. And go to your feet and feel for that mountain pose in the feet. So you spread the toes nice and wide, feeling for the big toe mound and pinky toe mound, and then the inner and outer heel mound or grounding. As you press into the feet, you'll bend your elbows and place your palms to face each other in front of your belly, like you're holding a block in front of your belly. And as you press further into the feet, you press into the arms as well, and the body gets light, and you lift the body off the floor, using the feet, using the back of the arms, adjusting the shoulder blades. Maybe they come a little closer together and get up a little bit higher on the upper arms. Press through the feet, press through the arms, breathing here, lengthening, using the whole strength of the body, the back body. It's like we were doing locust. We were in the opposite direction, but we're still using the strength of the body to lift our body into a curve. And this is similar, using the back body, bearing weight to the floor and lifting up into the front body. One more inhale here. And slowly exhale, coming on down. And releasing the arms. And let's straighten the left leg out long on the mat. Draw the right knee up toward you. Now the next two poses could be done with the knee bent as it is now, so we can hold on to the shin with the two hands. Or if you have a strap, you're welcome to use the strap for this, where you place the strap around the ball of the foot and you straighten the leg out. And you make sure this leg is straight. It doesn't need to be vertical, because if you get to a vertical part and your leg bends, you're kind of missing the hip more. So you want to keep the leg straight if you're using a strap. So it may not be vertical, or it might be, depending on your flexibility. But holding the knee up close without the strap is an excellent way to do it as well. So we're hugging it in, going to that left foot now and reach through the heel like you're standing on the left foot. Lengthening the tailbone away from the crown of the head. See if you can feel for the shoulder blades flat on the floor. Lengthen from the inseam of that standing leg, or that long leg. Take one more inhale here. And then releasing the left hand out to the side, or let the left hand rest on the top of the left hip to keep that left hip grounded. You're going to rotate the right leg out to the sides. If you're holding onto the straps, both sides of the straps go into your right hand. If you're holding onto the shin, you're just rotating that leg and the hip out to the side. And you're rotating in the hip socket. Keep drawing it up close. The right leg draws up close to the shoulder. And rotating in the hip socket. So you might recognize this shape. This shape is, especially if your knee is bent, it's very similar to the tree pose shape that we were doing standing. If the leg is straight, it's very similar to the fact that you are pretending almost to stand on one leg and balancing with the other leg out. Rotating in the hip socket. And then inhale, rotating that right leg back to the center. Release the hand to the side, let the right leg come down, and just pause for a moment, letting the body sink into that. Absorb that. And then go ahead and draw the left knee up, hugging it into the chest with both hands, perhaps, or choosing to use a strap around the ball of the foot and straightening the leg up to the wall or the ceiling, whichever works for the hamstrings, but the leg will be straight. So you're drawing the heel long through the calf. And then you're pressing through the right heel like you're pretending to stand on the ground, flexing that right foot. If your left knee is bent, activate those left toes so the left foot is still active in some way. drawing it deeper and deeper into the hip socket. And then switching over to the other side for the curve. So the right hand will come to the top of the hip point or out to the right. And you rotate that left hip in the hip socket out to the side, trying to keep the pelvis balanced so the right hip doesn't come off of the floor. So you're rotating in the hip and not just moving the pelvis over. Keep reaching through the right heel. And then slowly rotate back into the center. And then release that left leg down to the floor right next to the right. Pausing just for a moment, just absorbing the changes. And then getting ready for the most important pose in the Shavasana. You can separate the legs out as wide as the mat or maybe a little wider. You can get anything else to be comfortable and supported too as you adjust the hips and the shoulders. Maybe covering yourself up or putting socks on. See what's happening with the sacrum and the shoulder blades. Make sure they're resting evenly on the floor. And then releasing all the efforts in your body. Release the tongue from the roof of the mouth, release the jaw, release the neck. Releasing down through the shoulders, through each of your elbows, your wrists, and all your fingers. Let your breath just float away as you release down your spine, through your hips, through each of your knees, your ankles, and all your toes. And using these last few moments in this shape to absorb all of the benefits of today's practice. Calming the nervous system, stretching the body, strengthening the body. And begin to deepen your breath. And spread your fingers and toes. Draw your feet together, arms overhead for a nice long stretch. And bending one knee at a time, roll over to one side and pause there for a moment. Using your hands and your arms, gently make your way to a seated position. Thank you so much for sharing your practice, your energy, and your breath. May your hearts be filled with loving kindness. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be healthy and well nourished. And may you be happy. Namaste. So that was a fast 30 minutes. So if you have any questions or comments or want to just turn on gallery view and say goodbye to your friends, you're welcome to.
Thank you. That was good.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thanks, Mary Beth. It's nice
Pat, you have a question?
It's nice to have a short one in the repertoire.
Short. Yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
Good, good.
Happy New Year.
You're welcome.
Happy New Year, everybody.
New Year, everybody.
Yeah, Happy New Year. Thanks, Pat.
Stay safe.
Pat, you have a question?
I do. I was
Great way to start the new year. Yeah.
And end the old one.
And
New Year.
Thank you,
Thank
Mary.
you very much,
Thank
Mary
you.
Beth.
hold on. Bye.
I loved it. Bye-bye.
Good, good. Bye. We'll see you soon.
I wondered,
Okay, Pat.
when we're doing,
Oh, go ahead.
I just wonder when we're doing like the tree pose, is it better to try to balance or to hold the pose? Like I lost my balance in the pose. And I was wondering if I was holding on, is it better to hold on and not lose your balance? Or is it better to try to balance?
That's a really good question. So it's a little bit of both, right?
Yeah.
So if you find that balance is a challenge for you and you're constantly wiggling and falling, holding on, and then just, releasing your hand slightly, or maybe your foot's on the floor and you're just lifting the toes just slightly, and you're giving yourself, your nervous system, a little bit of time to work on the balance, right?
Okay.
But then you're holding it. And as you're holding it with both feet down or planted or holding on or something, you're still hugging the muscles into the bone and getting stronger, like you're still working on the strengthening piece, which is part of the balance, right? Sometimes our muscles aren't firing right. So a little bit of both is the answer. Is that helpful?
Yeah, it is. I think sometimes I don't have trouble getting into the position. I have trouble staying in the position. That's my problem.
Yep.
And so
Yeah.
I don't know if I should just go to a lesser position to try and hold that. I mean, sometimes I'm not sure, but balance is my problem.
Yeah, a little bit of both would be, sometimes you could have less of a position and, meaning your foot's down closer to the floor and you play with that. Today I wanted to play a little bit more into the hip by bringing the chair into an option. So the chair could be the support, but also get deeper into that hip flexor, because the next pose was a warrior two, right? So we were sinking into the pose there. And a lot of people kind of are reluctant about going deeper into that pose. So if you were deeper into it into tree, you're starting to, work more into that hip. So it's a little bit of both. And, each time we do it, play with it. And then you might see a change. You'll see, your body's responsive to it now. This is what we're doing here. This is how I make these adjustments to stay longer in this shape. You'll get stronger, you'll get more responsive to your nervous system.
Well, thanks.
Yeah.
Happy New Year to you.
You're welcome. Happy New Year to you.
I so
You
appreciate
too.
you. Oh my God, I love this. I had to leave last week.
I'm glad you came.
Quickly. I had to leave in the middle of the yoga session because my son called us from Colorado to announce that he proposed to his girlfriend. So
Oh, that's awesome.
I thought, oh, I want to get that call. I didn't want to miss it, so I took the call. So it's good news. Yeah, but I missed it.
Perfect.
Well, thank you so much.
Oh, well, I'm glad you had the news. You're welcome.
Bye-bye.